Hello, I'm back. We're going to do chapter 18 now, Mermaid Lagoon. Peter and the Lost Boys led the others to another part of Neverland where Mermaid Lagoon was located. The lagoon was the most serene place they had been to on the island by far. The shallow water was separated from the ocean by a reef wall. It was shaded entirely by tall willow trees that grew around the edge of the water. Boulders were sprinkled throughout the water, allowing Peter and the twins and the Lost Boys to hop from rock to rock until they reached the center of the lagoon. Mother Goose, Lester, and Red waited on land where they knew it was safe. Connor leaned over his rock and looked into the water, but all he saw were small fish swimming between the boulders. "Do you think they'll be willing to help us?" Alex asked. "I'm not sure. We've never asked them for help before," Peter said. "They like me, but usually they try drowning the Lost Boys whenever they get too close." "Can you repeat that?" Connor gulped. Suddenly, a webbed hand with long nails shot out of the water and grabbed Connor's foot. More hands appeared throughout the lagoon and tried pulling the twins and the Lost Boys into the water, but they helped one another kick the hands away. Dozens of mermaids had arrived, and they were nothing like the twins had expected. Unlike the colorful and angelic mermaids of the fairy tale world, the mermaids of Neverland were nasty and sinister-looking creatures. Their skin was slimy and so pale it practically glowed. They had red, slanted eyes and thin, flat nostrils. Instead of hair, they had long fins that stuck straight up like mohawks. They had several piercings and wore small fish bones as jewelry. "I thought the Neverland mermaids were supposed to be beautiful," Connor whispered to his sister. "Beauty is in the eye of the beholder," Alex whispered. "What are you going to do on our part of the island?" the mermaid closest to Connor hissed. She wore a necklace of shells that the others did not, so he figured she must have held some authority among the other mermaids. "We don't mean any harm," Connor said. "We've come to your lagoon to ask for a favor." The mermaid blinked a couple of times and flared her nostrils. She exchanged a confused look with the other mermaids, but none of them understood what he was talking about. "What's a favor?" the mermaid asked. "It's something you do for someone else when they need help," Alex said. The mermaids took a moment to process this and howled with laughter, exposing their jagged little shark-like teeth. "We don't do favors," the mermaid said, "especially with the Lost Boys." The lagoon erupted into chaos as the Lost Boys and the mermaids insulted one another. The twins couldn't let this continue any longer. It was wasting time. And the mermaids were their only hope. "Silence!" Alex yelled. "I want all the Lost Boys to go back to land, and my brother and I will talk to the mermaids alone." The boys separated from the creatures, exchanging a couple more insults and splashes as they went. "We aren't going to get anywhere with favors," Alex said to the mermaids. "So why don't we negotiate a trade?" "That depends," the mermaid said. "What is a trade?" "That's when you give something and get something in return," Alex explained. "We can't blame you for not liking the Lost Boys," Connor said. "We just got here and we can't stand them either. But if you could pick one thing that the Lost Boys did that annoys you the most, what would you choose?" The mermaids looked at one another and thought it over. They spoke to one another in high-pitched growls and clicks. Apparently, they had their own language. "They take all of our fish," the mermaid hissed. "They have plenty of food to hunt on land and in the sky, but we're limited to the water of the fish of the waters." "Wonderful," Alex said and clapped her hands. "So if we convince the Lost Boys to stop fishing in your waters, will you do something in return for us?" "What do you want in return?" "There's a book wrapped in a chain at the bottom of Pirates Bay," Connor said. "We need you to retrieve it for us." Once again, the mermaids exchanged growls and clicks. Their language sounded like a mix of dolphin and bat sounds. "Yes," the mermaid said. "That is a trade we are willing to make." "Great," Alex said. "Hold that thought." The twins hopped across the boulders back to land and filled the Lost Boys in on the trade they negotiated with the mermaids. "What? We'll never stop fishing," Peter said. "Fishing is one of the Lost Boys' favorite things to do." "Do you want to see Tinkerbell again or not?" Connor yelled. Peter and the Lost Boys all sighed and nodded their heads. The twins returned to the mermaids with the good news. "It's settled," Alex said. "Enjoy your fish." The mermaids looked back and forth between the twins and the Lost Boys. They weren't sure if they liked this whole trading thing, But they weren't going to be the first ones to break their end of the bargain. "We'll meet you at Pirates Bay," the mermaid told the twins. She clicked at the other mermaids, and they dived below the waters. The twins and their friends returned to Pirates Bay as quickly as they could. The mermaids were waiting for them in the water when they arrived. Alex and Connor told them exactly where they had seen the book sink, and the mermaids went to retrieve it. They resurfaced a few moments later and handed the twins the book. "Thank you so much," Alex said. "We promise the Lost Boys will keep their end of the trade. Right?" "Right," the Lost Boys repeated unenthusiastically. The mermaid splashed them one more time and swam away. Alex unraveled the damp book from the chain and read the title to the others. "Alice's Adventures in Wonderland," she said. "Lloyd is going to go after the Queen of Hearts and her card soldiers next." The Tin Woodman mistook this as good news. "The Queen of Hearts," he said with a smile. "Don't get excited. She's loud and awful," Connor said, and then let out a long sigh. "This trip just keeps getting better and better, doesn't it?" "Are you going to travel inside the magic book like the Jolly Roger did?" Peter asked. Alex and Connor nodded. "We don't have a choice," Alex said. "It's the only way we're going to stop them, if we can, even at this rate." "Then I'm coming with you," Peter declared. "I will not rest until Tinker Bell is back in Neverland with me and the Lost Boys." "That's awfully brave, Peter, but it's going to be very dangerous," Connor said. "You could get seriously hurt or even killed." Peter retrieved his dagger and raised it to the sky. "To die would be an awfully big adventure," he proclaimed. Alex and Connor looked at each other, thinking the same thing. They weren't going to get rid of him. Rather than spending time arguing, the twins went into forming the next phase of their plan. "One of us needs to stay in Neverland and look after the books," Alex said. "Who's going to be this time?" The twins, the Tin Woodman, Mother Goose, and Lester all turned to Red. Her eyes grew large and her whole body tightened. Every part of her rejected the idea. "Don't even think about it," Red said. "I'm not staying on this island." "Red, I don't mean to sound rude, but you're the least useful in the group," Connor said. "We need you to stay here and make sure nothing happens to the books." "These savages have already shot me," Red said as she pointed at the Lost Boys. "What do you think they'll do with me when I'm alone?" "Red, I promise you'll be safer here than in Wonderland," Alex said. Red couldn't believe her ears. She might as well have been pressured to walk off a cliff. The twins didn't give her any more chance to argue. Before she knew it, Connor was handing her their copy of Peter Pan as if the decision was final. "Boys, I order you to listen to Miss Red," Peter instructed. "I want you to protect her and make her very comfortable while we're away. Treat her like you would your own mother." The Lost Boys were very excited by this idea. Red looked like she was going to be sick. "Yes, sir," Tootle said and saluted Peter. "Now just wait 1 minute. Am I supposed to sleep in the jungle?" Red asked, but none of her friends were listening anymore. "Of course not. We'll build you a home," Nib said. "I don't like the sound of that." "I've always wanted a mother," Slightly said. "Well, keep dreaming." "Can we call you Mother, Miss Red?" Curly asked. "Certainly not." "Mother!" the Lost Twins shouted. "We have a mother! We have a mother! We have a mother!" the Lost Boys chanted. Red felt like her friends had just fed her to a pack of hungry wolves. She tried to fight the decision, but it was too late. The twins, the Tin Woodman, Mother Goose, Lester, and Peter were already gathered around the next book. Alex opened Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and a beam of light shot into the sky. "We'll have to get to the Queen's palace as quickly as possible," she said. "If we don't catch up with Lloyd in this story, we may never stop him." They entered the beam and departed Neverland, hoping with all their hearts that Wonderland would be their final stop. All right, that is the end of the chapter. The next chapter will be called Down the Rabbit Hole. And you guys got a nice little glimpse of my sister's cat, Blaze. I'll see you guys for the next chapter.